Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode and uh, another training. And what we're going to be talking about today in this training slash episode, it's very rare that Nancy and I get triggered so much that we talk about it while we're laying in bed, winding down for the day, getting ready to go to sleep. It's usually one of us that's fired up about something, and we have to tell the other to, shh, 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 no, we're going to go to bed. But this fired us both up to the point where we're like, you know what? We already block out time to record our podcast on this day anyway. We're bumping this one up. We're gonna bump up this episode and this training because we need to talk about it. So let me give some context behind this. So Nancy and I have always, well, say hi, Nancy. I'm like talking like you're not here.
Hi. Hello.
You will hear from her, I promise. So, just so you guys understand, Nancy and I pride ourselves on number one, staying up to date on the latest trends, not just in growing an online business, but growing a business in general. Whether it's a service-based business, a coaching business, a professional service business, a consulting business, whether that's the adoption of AI, whether that's the need for systems and processes that you have in place, optimizing a lead magnet, making sure that your sales page copy is right, making sure that your website is optimized, making sure you're booking more calls that is leading to opportunities. We always want to make sure that we are staying on top of all that because tried and true, those are things that will always move the needle of your business forward. And just a word to the wise, removing yourself from the equation of your business will not help it grow. It's only going to further take you away from it and eventually out of business. When you are providing a service, when you're providing something for a community that you have, whether you're growing your business on LinkedIn or whatever other social media platform, you have to be front facing and you have to be willing to connect with people. Now, that could be on phone calls, that can be on Zooms, that can be on workshops, but there needs to be a human touch element to it. So, now to the context of what we're talking today. So, I stumbled upon a post uh like one of the afternoons, and it stopped me in my tracks. And it's very rare that something really triggers me this much where I stop in my tracks, I take a screenshot, and I just sent it to Nancy and I'm like, I'm gonna just leave this here with you. And she immediately responded with the kind of hand over your face emoji. And here's what it said. It was a it was in a Instagram story, and it said, quote, I have sold over $1 million without a sales page, without a website, or without getting on any sales calls. This week, I'm giving away my exact framework of how you can do the same thing. I want all of you that are watching this and listening to this to let that sink in. This person, and Nancy always challenges me. She goes, do not make brash statements. If I make a brash statement, she will call me out on it. So just think about that for a second. You know, for all the service pros out there, for all the service professionals and coaches and consultants, just think about that statement. I have sold over $1 million without a sales page, without a website, or without getting on a sales call. Does that seem impossible? Absolutely. So, Nance, I want to ask you a leading question so we can start this conversation. So I started to think about, what questions would I want to ask someone about this? And I want to ask you this. So in reading that, in hearing it, in listening to it, what message does that really send to the person that may stumble upon that?
It's not that hard. Making $1 million, it's easy. You don't have to get on calls.
You don't
You
even
don't
need a
have to do all
website.
that hard stuff, right? That people say you have to do. Stop it. You don't have to do that. Ugh. Like I just when you told me that, again, it triggers me because the fact of the matter is, I think so many people are looking for the easy button, right? They just want to hit that button and say, all right, I don't have to get on calls, or, I don't want to do all the things, right, that the people who have actually done it, are saying to do. And oh, it's just easy. It sends the wrong message, right? And I'm not saying, right? I like to actually look at things from multiple angles. I'm not saying it's not possible, right? Like if you really dial it in and you're like, okay, well, if you're in an extremely niche market and maybe you're like selling Etsy templates or, maybe you're selling something on Amazon, like there is probably a loophole you could find that maybe that could be the case. But if you haven't built a network, if you haven't built the credibility, if you haven't spent the time, right, creating all these other things, I call bullshit.
So let me just dig a little bit deeper, Nance, because we actually wanted to get more context to this. And when we started digging, we found out part of the strategy was selling from the DMs, quote unquote, meaning conversing with people in direct messages that end up leading to sales. Now, just to kind of break this down, just so people know the math of this, $1 million in a calendar year is $83,300 a month, which breaks down to a little over $20,000 a week. So when I think about that statement, I'm supposed to believe that someone is making $20,000 a week every week for 52 weeks from the DMs without a website, without getting on a call, and without a sales page.
Yeah, but I'll also throw this in there. She didn't say a year, right? She said in general, right? So I just think, I mean, what this message kind of gives me, and again, right, guys, we always want to come from a place of, right, kindness. Okay. Is it truthful? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Okay. And the reason why I'm triggered kind of by messages like this is, come on, right? Like this was the strategy. It feels like the 90s, at this point. It's like, as soon as I looked at that, I'm like, yeah, we were doing that like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. That kind of spammy kind of marketing tactic, it's just not cool. Like it's not cool because you get these people who maybe they're just entering the digital marketing world, or maybe they're just entering, right, the entrepreneurial space, and they see things like this and they start to doubt themselves, right? The advice that they've been given, by people, you got to build your brand, you got to build your business, it's not going to happen overnight, all these things, right, that are true. We know to be true, okay? Even though we have AI, we have all these things that can streamline, um, you know, these things have to happen, right? In order to build your business. And guys, little surprise, it's not easy. Okay. Even now with the tools and the technology and all that we have, building a business is hard. It takes a lot of focus, it takes a lot of energy, and you can either pay a lot of money or you can pay a lot of your time, right, to get to where you need to be. And the fact of the matter is, even throwing money now at Facebook ads or all these other tactics that people were doing in the past, it's not working anymore. Okay. So the fact of the matter is yes, whenever I see things like this, who does this attract? It attracts the people who don't know about building a business, right? They
And
don't
they don't want to
know
do the work.
what it actually takes. And number two, it attracts people who want to hit the easy button, right? They want to, you know what? I'm just going to hit this button and I'm not going to have to do as much work and things are just going to unfold from there.
Can I just say something?
Just go ahead.
There is there is no easy button in business. I do not I will challenge anyone to tell me there is an easy button
Well, and
in
here,
business.
I will say there are things and there are certain tools and whatever that can help you do things, right, more productively, more streamlined. But when it comes to actually building your business, right? And I will say, right, when you have a clear map of what you need to do and you stay fully focused and you turn on the gas and you drive forward and you do the things, that is easier, right? Than flying at the seat of your pants and having squirrel brain and looking at all these crazy brash statements and going, well, let me try this and let me try that and let me try that, right? That's not easy, right? That's not easy.
The visual that I get with all these people that post this kind of stuff, like that one advertisement that we always see, right? That I've sold $3 million worth of my course on autopilot without getting on one call. That's bullshit. So the visual I get is that scene from Game of Thrones where what's her face was walking down the steps and they're
Or
shame,
Cersei.
shame, shame, shame. Like shame on these people. Like, I'm sorry it gets me so fired up, but it does because I know how many people are struggling out there right now. Like Nancy and I see firsthand at how many people are struggling to grow their business, how many people are struggling to close sales and to make money and to get out of debt. And then you have these jabronis out there that are making it seem like it's so super easy. Then these people with no regard for that person's situation sells them like a multiple 4 and 5 figure course or program or mastermind, thinking, and this is the thing that drives me crazy, Nancy, is that the people that they end up attracting are the ones that need to have the most systems and processes in place first and foremost to actually create sales, and they don't. They don't have a following, they don't have email lists, they have no social media presence whatsoever, and they're set up for failure. They're set up to fall flat on their face, and then this is where the psychology of this comes into place. Then that person who makes the investment, they start blaming themselves. Like, it's my fault. I suck. I'm not good at this. And they end up quitting. So, shame on those people that are giving all of these hardworking entrepreneurs that false hope that there's some easy button they can press to turn the faucet of money on where they can create millions of dollars without having to do the hard work.
Like, yes. All of that, right? I just think, guys, for everyone who's listening, it takes time, right? It takes time to build a brand. It takes time to put yourself out there. It takes time to get your feet on the ground. It takes time to get your first client. It takes time, right, to get the needle moving, right? Like, and there's a reason why, right? This stuff builds and it takes time because also, right, if you are new to coaching, consulting, in your service profession, you got to get your reps in anyway, right? You got to make sure that you can deliver the value that you are putting out there into the world, right? You got to get yourself some credibility. You got to get some testimonials. You got to build, some simple things. And for someone, okay, and again, this is why it's so triggering for me from a marketing standpoint, okay? Telling someone you don't need a website, and I'm just saying, like, under that website umbrella, I'm classifying like a landing page, any page you're sending people to, okay? I'm sorry, that is a website, right? For someone to say you don't need anything and you can just close, and what I'm assuming is a higher ticket sale. Okay, maybe it's not, maybe it's like nothing, but you still need a freaking page, okay, to explain what the hell it is, okay?
How are these people
Other,
building their email list, Nancy? How are
well,
they building their email
the
lists?
the other thing is, okay, the other thing is I want to bring this all back to connection, okay? The thing that we are starting to kind of, as humans, right? We're kind of becoming hermits and we're hiding in our little hermit crab shells because we're scared to actually talk to each other, right? We don't want friction. We don't want to get on a call and get rejected. We don't want to get on a call and even have a conversation, right? We are in this kind of like, twilight zone of like no one wanting to have contact, right? The thing is let's kick it old school. Let's go back, okay? And let's talk about simple connection. When you get on a phone call and you have no intention to even sell, you just get on a call to say, "Hey, what are you doing? How can we support each other? Like, what's going on in your business? Maybe I know someone who could help." Sometimes even one of those calls can epically change your business. Right. I tell this story often. In fact, we do workshops a lot. And, I actually had a client. So I work with some nonprofits in my agency. I had one client that kind of had a PR need. And I'm like, I wonder if I can find someone, in the PR space who specializes in nonprofits. I went on my LinkedIn, I searched, I connected with someone, I jumped on a call, and my message was simple. It was, "Hey, can we jump on a call? I actually have some clients who are looking for what you do. I might have some, we might have some synergy here." We get on a call, we start talking. This person's amazing. She's built her entire business around helping nonprofits as a PR agent. And she goes, "You know what? We don't want to do what you do. Like you do all the content creation and you do all that stuff, right? People have to have a presence, right? Before we even put them out there and get them on magazines and do all this other stuff." She goes, "Can we partner? Like if you want to turn on the waterfall, right? Like turn on the faucet, Nancy, reach back out to me and let's go." That was one connection and one call that could literally, if I decided to ever go down that route with my agency, I just reach out, I tap that person, I say, "Let's freaking go." That is what I'm talking about, not this bullshit. And I'm sorry for cursing, but it's just, again, gets me fired up that you're just going to send a million crappy ass messages, okay, out to all these people and potentially do more harm, okay? Because I want to be honest with you. When I get a spammy message from someone that says some crappy sales bullshit, right? "Oh, buy my thing," or "Are you interested in whatever?" or "Hey, you coming to my whatever?" Like, it's so spammy and disgusting that honestly, I either block that person or I never respond and I check them off my list of nope, no, thank you. Because they have not made an effort to get to know me. They have not made an effort to actually literally like take the time, okay? Which is what it takes, guys, sometimes, especially nowadays, okay? But they are now blasting this garbage out there. And I'm talking about like the DM spammy messages. And my God, please don't do it on LinkedIn. Okay. LinkedIn will shut you down. In fact, they're cracking down more than ever. It doesn't freaking work. And your odds are like this. And your odds of pissing people off and losing real connection and huge potential, it's this much. And for you guys who can't see me, it's a lot.
So the bigger point of this, and we're going to kind of reel back into what we actually want to
So
talk
we're
about.
fired up.
Well, number one, it's very irresponsible to teach people a strategy that solely relies on social media to create business. If you're in the coaching, consulting, service professional world and you're not building an email list, God forbid. So, as an example, you're following some strategy where everything is in the DMs on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or LinkedIn, right? And God forbid your account gets shadow banned or restricted or, worst case, shut down completely. How are you going to get in touch with your potential buyers? Everything that Nancy and I teach through our email marketing strategy, to our social media strategy, our content strategy, our relationship strategy, our messaging strategy is to get people from online to offline, capturing an email where you can then nurture them. And that's the bigger premise of today's training and today's episode is the human connection portion of building a business is the most essential part. To build a know, like, and trust is to build a business. No one will buy anything from anyone that they don't know, like, or trust. And here's what I will say even further. What human being on the face of this earth is willing to spend thousands of dollars without actually talking to a human being before hitting go? That's even more irresponsible. I don't want anyone purchasing anything from myself and Nancy if there isn't a human connection aspect to it, whether that's spending 5 days with us in a workshop, whether that's getting on a consult call, right? I want to talk to them. I want to see them, right? Chris Doe, who is he was a unbelievable and still is an unbelievable YouTuber. Now has an incredible presence on LinkedIn. His podcast is called The Future, Futrr. Check it out. You can find him on LinkedIn. I I love this man for many reasons, but one
Very
of the
real.
main reasons why Nancy, you know, I resonated is because Nancy said this. She goes, he actually launched his own high-level mastermind for businesses that are making $500,000 to $750,000 on up. And it's a small group coaching mastermind. Chris Do, who is a multiple millionaire, doesn't have a team member talking to these people that want to be a part of it. He's not DMing them. He gets on a call with the people that are interested in joining them. He pre-vets them. He talks to them. That is the sign of someone who's running a business the right way. So the bigger piece of what we wanted to share is why Nancy and I always talk about LinkedIn, more recently thought leadership and storytelling content, is because what we've been working on behind the scenes in our expert content society, right? It's been changing the game. Nance?
Yeah, I just like before we kind of talk about that layer of things, I also just want to plug this in because this is also kind of tied to like what we're talking about. I just want to be realistic, my past and my history, right? I've worked with lots of high level coaches, consultants, I did a lot of like online business management work, even some VA, marketing, all of that. And what people don't realize, and this is again for that person who's kind of second doubting themselves, like, oh, should I invest the money in ads? Should I do this? Should I do that? Like, is there a button where I can hit? Yes, I did say, right? It's either investing a lot of time or investing a lot of money. But what you're not seeing behind the scenes, just to give you an example, I had one client that would, right, get some people to join her workshop from Facebook ads. But what you're not seeing is all the money and the ads that had to happen in order to even get somebody warm enough to even say yes to registering for that workshop. Like what you don't see right at the very beginning of this is an ad that simply just goes to a piece of their content, right? Like, hey, learn about this person, touch point number one. Hey, watch their video, touch point number two. Hey, retargeting that person who watched the video for at least 3 seconds, right? Then again, another ad, another ad, another ad, so that we now have enough touch points so people know, oh, okay, I know that person. And then, right, it's getting them like warmed up enough and then saying, okay, well, here, I've got this thing that I'm teaching. You want to be a part of it? Okay, now they're not like cold right off the street, they're now warm because they know who you are. And they're like, okay, I know their stuff. I've seen a few things. Now I'm interested. Your conversion rate's going to be a little bit better, right? And you're going to get people who kind of care, right? And then that's part of it, right? And then obviously you add in all the other people who've already been following you and all that other stuff. Okay. That's part of like phase one. If you are just running like ads to your $5 thing, $10 thing, whatever, or you're trying to run ads directly to fill your workshop or whatever like that, what I've seen time and time again is people getting a bunch of cold leads that God only knows if they're real or not. Okay, we've seen some of the craziest email addresses, because trust me, we've tried this. And we've seen people register, not show up for the workshop, never hear from them again, and they're bounced or spammy email. Like, so not even good quality, right? And now we've spent thousands of dollars on ads. There are so many different things that you have to do, right, to build the audience whenever you're using paid methods. Scott and I have always been so passionate about organic methods. Okay. And whenever I say organic, that is not paying for traffic, that is not paying for ads. That is simply putting content out there. It's building your brand. It's doing the work. It's staying consistent. And these things build over time. We know this, right? We are so big about, okay, well, we know what needs to be done. So how can we streamline that so that people don't sit in front of their computer each and every day and go, oh, what should I be doing today? Oh, I just want to hire this thing because it looks like I can just hit an easy button. Like, no, we want to give you the easy path to know exactly what you should be doing so that you feel confident in the time that you are spending, that over time you will build your credibility. You will get your thought leadership out there. You will do all the things that will help close the gaps to take cold leads to warm leads to hot leads much quicker. Okay. So that's just my rant.
Yep. So what can you do right now to actually get started? So that's the question that populates. And Nancy and I always say, start with really good, clean content on LinkedIn. Start with some thought leadership content. Start with some storytelling content that really positions you as the expert in the space that you're in. We've been testing out a lot of different posts on LinkedIn, and what we've been really seeing is an uptick in more really thought-provoking and heartfelt storytelling business type posts that are just text posts, no images. So what Nancy and I have done is we've created a free template for those that would like it. It's basically a template for 3 high impact LinkedIn posts. So it's almost like Mad Lib style. So if you're watching on social media, whether it be Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, if you just type the words high impact in the comments, we will send you the link where you can download this free resource. If you're listening on the podcast, all you have to do is go to the description and there'll be a link right there where you can claim this free resource. Again, it's a template for 3 high impact LinkedIn posts that will start to build that know, like, and trust. LinkedIn is still underused, it is underutilized, but it is a gold mine if you're using it the right way. So, again, we wanted to talk to everyone today. This is directed towards the coaches out there, the consultants out there, the service professionals, the business professionals out there. Do not fall for those quick, rich scams. They are scams. You can't go from zero to $1 million by hitting the easy button. It takes time. That's why Nancy and I teach sustainability, sustainable growth, scalability. That is all, that's what we're all about because we want to see people win. We want to see people succeed. Nancy and I can share horror story after horror story of people that have crashed and burned so quickly because they didn't do it the right way. And we want to educate and inform you of things you should stay away from, but things that you should lean into.
That makes me think, right? So, entrepreneur rescue mission, right? That reminds me of why that even came about. So yeah, so guys, this is the real truth, right? Whenever it comes to closing sales, right? We've got a little bit of work to do. We've got a little foundation to build, and it doesn't have to be a scary thing. To Scott's point, check out, the freebie, right, that we mentioned that you can download. We also included one of our GPT, our AI prompts in there. That's actually things that we share in our Expert Content Society community. Doors are closed now, but when we open them, we'll definitely let you guys know. But one of the GPTs in there is all about sharing your origin story. And we're very big about, yes, let's use AI to help us streamline, but let's not forget, right? We've got human brain, we've got human stories to tell. So we do a fusion of that where AI actually helps pull these things out of you. In fact, we've had some people say, "Oh my gosh, this is like a therapy session," because the GPT will actually ask you questions and then help you actually write this post and share your story, right? Because this is what we're seeing that's really building the familiarity, the know, like, and trust on LinkedIn, right? It is what is setting people apart. So definitely check that out. And yeah, we'll catch you guys next time.
Yep. So again, if you would like the high impact post templates for LinkedIn, if you're watching on social, again, just type the words high impact in the comments and we'll send you the link. If you're listening on the podcast, all you have to do is go to the description, click the link, put your name and email, and they'll be delivered right to you. So everyone, enjoy the rest of your days. Love and gratitude. Stay away from those scams, and we'll talk to you next time.